What's going on, Internet? It's your boy JG in the house. I bear bad news this time. I think a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, the Auburn Tigers go down in CoMo, 85-73. Fell behind. Had another bad first half. Seemed like they were kind of getting things going in the second half a little bit, and then they didn't. At no point was their outside shooting ever good. They finished 1 of 17 from 3. And I know this is not a three-point shooting team. That's not what they do. That's not their MO at all. But you got to have some. And they got none tonight. And I think when they really needed to make that push in the second half, their free throw shooting was not as good as it could have been. The three-point shooting was 0. And you had that really weird situation with Devin Cambridge where he was called for a foul. I thought the foul was on Missouri. Called Cambridge for a foul. Then they called Cambridge for a flagrant 2 for stepping on the dude, Aminu Timberlake style. Those of you who are from the old school. And Christian Laettner stepped on Aminu Timberlake years ago and they didn't have flagrant 2s back then. But anyway, Cambridge stepped on him, got ejected. I think Missouri got 4 free throws out of that, plus possession. Man, that was a big punch right in the face. And then BP got called for a technical for dissent a little bit later. Another punch in the face. And, I don't know. Just not a very good night for Auburn. With the exception of Austin Wiley, I thought he was terrific tonight. Javon, I thought, played pretty well. I think you look at the numbers, I think he finished with 21 points. So you think, that's pretty good. I think 6 of 9 shooting, as I recall. But had more turnovers than assists, and that's a big part of what he's supposed to be doing. Samir was pretty good as well, mostly at the free throw line, getting downhill, coaxing fouls. I thought their plan tonight was if the threes aren't there, which they weren't, we're going to drive all night long. And they did a lot of driving. Let me pull up the box here. I think they shot 42 free throws, something like that. 46. So Auburn goes to the line 46 times, you guys. They drew 31 fouls. This is insane. And, it worked kind of, but even when you're doing that, and they had a lot of success getting Missouri in foul trouble, getting to the line, you still got to hit some threes. You got to. And even if Auburn shoots a little bit better than average at the line, let's say they go 34 or 46, they're still going to lose big. So it's going to take more than that. You look at the numbers, 73 points is more or less okay for Auburn. They probably average just a touch more than that. But giving up 85 to a team like Missouri, man, come on, dude. They're lacking their best player. Their best player and their third best player are out. And they let some kind of anonymous dudes tear them up. It's one thing to let Xavier Pinson get you, but 10 of 12 from field goals? That's not him. And Drew Smith is just kind of a dude. I don't know, man. 7 of 14 from the floor. 12 of 13 from the line. Everybody knows he's a 90% free throw shooter or whatever. Defensively was the problem. Yeah, I think tonight. We can talk about the three-point shooting, and it wasn't good. But I still think 73 points on the road against this team, you feel like you've got a shot, and they didn't. And, anyway. I do want to take a look over here. AU Civil, I do want to give you some propers for keeping up with the softball game tonight. I appreciate that. We were doing basketball, obviously, and you were doing updates on Auburn, who was absolutely crushing UNC Wilmington tonight. After needing a major comeback to beat them yesterday, baseball crushed UIC in the first game, and then BMAT is covering that second game right now as well, and I think they're up pretty big in that one. So there you go. Scott says, glad your coronavirus went away, JG. Thank you. I finally do kind of feel myself. Had a chance to go outside a little bit today. My daughter was playing in a soccer tournament here in town. I think it was called the Capital of Dreams tournament, and they were victorious. The Lamp Lady Golden Tigers beat the Stew, 3-1, out of Stanhope Elmore Lady Mustangs for the title. We have a little bit of a rivalry with Stanhope Elmore. They are a very physical team. We'll just say they're very physical. And our girls were taken out. We lost Sydney to a shoulder injury sustained from a nasty hit, Very rough hit. And anyway, 3-1. We're victorious. We love to see that. It's my daughter's senior year, and I'm fired up. I know next year I'm going to be like, my daughter's gone. It's February. It's soccer season. But you know how it goes. Those of you who are dads and moms and who have sent kids off to college, you guys know what I'm talking about anyway. Let's see. Blake D says, what up, Auburn family? Al Flanagan had his chance and blew it. I could see that. I mean, Al didn't have a great night, but he's having to take over for Okoro, which he's not equipped to play that position right now. I mean, he's just not. I mean, come on. So he goes for 5 points. That includes an 0 for 3 performance from the floor. 0 for 3 from 3-point range. I'm going to tell you something about Al. Listen, nobody on this team works harder than Al, okay? He's got the work ethic down, and he's got the spirit down. Just doesn't have the shooting down. His defense is fine. He just doesn't have the shooting down, and I don't understand for the life of me why he's shooting so many threes. At this point, he's under 12%. Let me see if they've updated his numbers yet, because it's a mess. No, they haven't updated him yet. He came into this game 4 of 29 from 3-point range, which is 13.8%, and he missed 3 today. So he's probably now under 12, and it's just not. I don't know why he's shooting threes. I just don't. So he needs to stop that. And I know it's kind of weird to have a small forward who can't shoot threes even a little bit, but that's just kind of where we are right now, okay? You guys know, because you guys who are tuning in, you guys know these things, that Isaac didn't play today, had the hamstring strain that he picked up about 2 minutes left in the game the other day. He's going to be okay. I don't think it's going to be a long-term situation for him, but he's definitely out today. He's going to need to rest it. In fact, I probably don't expect him to play against Georgia on Wednesday, but I think he'll be fine after that. And, look, guys, remember that basketball is different than football, okay? When you're in the SEC and you lose to Missouri in football, you're in trouble, right? We would all agree. In basketball, you don't really go undefeated in league play, and Auburn's not. Auburn's 9-3 now, but it's okay to lose some games here and there, particularly on the road. And for me, this loss today doesn't change for me how I feel about this team or how I project them to perform in the postseason, because we know what the warts are, okay? The warts are that they're not a very good shooting team, particularly from 3, and they're going to have days where it's really bad. And when it's really bad, they've got to drive. And I thought they did okay. They adapted to the fact that they weren't shooting threes. I don't really have much complaining to do on the attacking end. My issue myself is on the defensive end. Not good enough. And I didn't even think the spirit was great on the defensive end from some of the dudes. I felt like Ant was not doing enough. I feel like Austin was spending too much time worrying about the white dude instead of providing some help defense for rim protection on some of those drives where he was. I didn't understand it. Anyway, sorry guys, got on a rant there. Warren C., we're glad to have you as part of the show. I got a little update on what the situation was the other night, because you were posting some stuff that didn't make sense to me at the time. It makes sense now. Says, JG, are you in your underwear below that tie asking for a friend? No, I'm not. I'm not going to prove it to you because that's weird. But no, I'm not. I might be wearing shorts. But, I mean, hey, it's all about shirt and tie, yo. I saw Raven is in the house. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Oh, Ben B, man, they were trying to, YouTube was trying to hold you back from that comment. That's silly. Now I've lost it because it was so far back. I'm sorry. I was slow getting to that. Let's see. I do want to mention we got to drink a little bit tonight, of course. We do a little drinking on this stream. Tonight is going to be one we've had before, but I just hadn't had it on the show in a while. Old Ezra, 7-year. This is a 117 proof product of the Lux Row Distillery, which is a very small distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, which I consider to be the cradle of bourbon production. There are people that think, hey, Old Forester's been around a long time and Michter's has been around a long time, and they deserve their due. But to me, Kentucky bourbon is like Elijah Craig / Barton / Heaven Hill / Maker's Mark. There would be people that would say Jim Beam. Certainly, they've gotten so huge in corporate, I almost don't even think of them anymore. But so that little area there, you've got Wild Turkey is just a little bit up the road from there. Lots of good stuff there. Lux Row is one of the smaller ones there. They just recently put together a still, and they're going to start producing their own juice. I think they've done it for a year now. So as time goes on, it's going to be a true Lux Row product. This stuff, I believe, is sourced from Heaven Hill, which is right up the street. So this stuff, when you're drinking Old Ezra, is not, it's sourced elsewhere, but it's still tasty, I think. And we got this at the Grub Mart in Auburn for $24.95 about a month and a half ago. I think that's an incredible price for this. I'd be willing to pay $35 for that. Paid $25, so let's have a little suck on that. Really, 989 with our first super chat of the night. Word, thank you. Says War Eagle anyway. Maybe Okoro got those new legs that so many kind bunkerites sent him, and will be back to save us soon. Yeah, that was so sweet of the bunker to offer up body parts and thigh massages for Isaac to help him get over this. I tell you, the bunker really knows how to galvanize and help when times get tough. You know what I mean? So anyway, really, thank you very much for that. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got a young fan in the house. I'll be very careful with my language tonight. You know, you guys know I don't cuss as much anymore. Had a talk with some fellers during the. Got a little bug following me around. Some of the fellers during a Christmas party. They're like, "Hey JG, I really like the show. Wish you would cuss less." I was like, "Okay, I can do that. I can totally do that." Let's see. Ben B says working to get back to that 5 seed. Yikes. I do think Auburn's going to end up being a 4. 3 or a 4. I still think the team's pretty good, though. You just have to kind of understand that there's going to be days when they can't shoot, and when they can't shoot, they've got to step up on the defensive end. And I didn't think they stepped up tonight. I didn't think they stepped up defensively. And you look at some of these stats. I mean, again, I thought Austin was outstanding. I thought Javon was good. No problem with Javon. Samir, not too bad. 3 of 8 is not great. 0 for 2 from 3, but nobody was hitting from 3. 10 of 13 at the line, that's pretty solid. 4 assists, 1 turnover, not a problem there. Al was bad. Ant was bad. Jamal was really kind of bad too. He's not been great these last few games. D'Angelo was so-so, and then Cambridge, 15 really nondescript minutes, and then he was ejected. So the bench was pretty much ass tonight. 7 points off the bench. And you just let some anonymous dudes just tear you up, man. Kobe Brown's a nobody. Xavier Pinson, maybe. Drew Smith's a nobody. And this has kind of been happening, right, guys? Drew Smith's all right, I guess. Xavier Pinson's their best player, I think. Tillman's out. Mark Smith hasn't been playing much at all lately. He's a pretty good player for them, so I don't know. It just seems like every game it's something else, It's like some dude who you don't expect him is just going to tear them up. Remember that game against Arkansas? Some dude had 40? That was insane. There's the schedule as it stands. Yeah, somebody tore them up in the Alabama game the other day. It was Shackelford tore him up. That Arkansas game, it was that guy that plays, it's de facto power forward for them, but he's really a small forward. I forget his name now. 40 points that kid had. They're just letting too much of that stuff go on defensively, and you can't be great letting that happen day after day. Can't do that. 2 dudes for 28? Are you kidding me? They're not all Americans. Xavier Pinson, 10 of 12 from the floor. Somebody guard him, please. And they got him in foul trouble. I think he picked up his 4th with like 13 minutes to go, and they just couldn't finish him off. I don't know. Let's see. Johnny B. Good says they only dropped 2 in Ken Palm. That's good. That's fair, though, because Auburn gets these big wins, and then they move down, and they get this loss, and they don't really move down very far. So they're at 33 now, entered the game at 31. Not too bad. Again, to me, it doesn't change how I feel about the team. I still like them. I still think they're good. It's just, we've all got to be realistic about what this team is. I mean, I know we're like 25 games in, but Jared ain't here anymore. Jared's not walking through that door. And Bryce ain't walking through that door. And Choom ain't walking through that door. And that's 3 outstanding three-point shooters you lost right there. And replace them with really nobody who's an outstanding three-point shooter. So, there you go. Really, a 99 says, ouch at minus 22 for Purifoy. Absolutely horrible. Just not acceptable. And I mean, for Devin to be minus 21, he only played 15 minutes. That means when he was in there, it was just a catastrophe from start to finish. When you're not scoring, when he's in there, they're expecting him to hit threes. And so when he's not, he's just a defensive liability. He's okay defensively. Jamal's the bad one. D'Angelo, I really feel like he could be better, but, at some point we just got to say, dude, it ain't happening. It hurts being without Isaac. Gives you a lot of minutes, plays 33 a night, gives you good defense, gives you a lot of driving, gives you some three. Torre says, surprise, Ken Palm didn't drop us to 212. Yeah. Yeah, not sure about the refs, man. AU Civil mentions about the refs. Now, I don't think this game was handled particularly well. I thought the situation with Cambridge was bizarre. I thought the technical on... I'd have to ask BP about his technical. Because sometimes it's not about how animated you are, and he was pretty animated. It's about specifically what you say. And there's times when BP knows that he said something that he shouldn't say. And he'll be pretty open with us about it. Oh, yeah. It's pretty good. It's pretty smooth for 117 proof. But you do feel it. It's got a kind of a... I taste I taste vanilla in that. It's got a good little burn, and it holds. It's kind of smoky a little bit. To me, that would just be like an old granddad type thing. The old granddad 114. It reminds me of that. And I think that's a really good bourbon for the price. Torre says, SEC refs are just embarrassing this year, and it's every single game, not just Auburn games. Listen, man, you guys know I don't rag on refs very much, but I tend to agree. I seems like it's taken a half step back this year. And now there were some calls in the first half that I thought helped Auburn as well. And we knew what the score was about halfway through the first half, that Auburn was going to be driving all night. And when they're going to drive incessantly, possession after possession, it puts the referees in a difficult situation because, I mean, if you're going to drive downhill 10 possessions, there's going to be contact probably 10 times. And you have to judge, is it enough contact to warrant a foul or is it not? And that line is really tough to kind of discern. You kind of make it on a case-by-case case-by-case basis. But I thought in general they were doing pretty well, but then it started getting a little chippy, and I thought they let it get away a little bit. Keith M. says Purifoy needs to step up. Totally agree. I just, at this point, man, you got to wonder, is it going to happen? He's been at Auburn for like 6 years now. You know? I mean, I'm not really 6, but this is his third real year. And one of those, he had to sit out, and it burned a year of his eligibility. So, speaking of that, you guys may have seen this, but South Carolina received their notice of allegations from the NCAA the other day. And they were ensnared essentially in the same sting operation that Auburn was involved with. They had an assistant who was doing the rogue thing. And so I think that Auburn probably will be receiving or has received an NOA here before too long. And we all knew this was coming. I mean, there is a price to be paid for what Chuck Person did. They charged South Carolina with a level 1 violation, which is a pretty big deal. You know, there's still a lot to be adjudicated about that because obviously South Carolina is going to make their appeal or at least explain their side of it, and then the NCAA will consider that and then make a judgment. And then that's when things start getting exciting because We saw what happened with LSU last year where they have the head coach on a wiretap coordinating a payment for a prospect. He's fine. We saw the situation at Missouri in football where I thought the AD there really tried to play it cool and work with the SEC, and the SEC absolutely punched them in the mouth. And I feel like ADs across the conference are now of the opinion that the right play is to fight them tooth and nail. And so when the NCAA comes with their letter or the notice of allegations to Auburn, I think that Auburn is going to fight it tooth and nail. And I also think that Auburn went further than anybody else in this whole thing as far as preemptive strikes. So they sat Austin for an entire year. They sat D'Angelo for an entire year. And they self-imposed a lot of recruiting restrictions that really haven't been reported yet, where they completely cut off their off-campus recruiting for a period of time. They cut their visits down for an entire recruiting season. So they've done a lot of stuff where these other teams are like indignant about it and like, yeah, let me know what you want to do. Auburn has already come out and said, yeah, some mistakes were made, and we're going to go ahead and self-impose some sanctions. Some pretty serious sanctions, in my opinion. So that's only going to help when this all comes down, but I still think there's going to be a price to pay. I mean, you still got an assistant coach who was brokering players to agents. And yes, I've heard the arguments on the bunker about, but he wasn't helping Auburn. I completely agree. The things that Chuck was doing they were treacherous. It was undermining everything Auburn was trying to do because he was promising this fake agent that he was going to lure these kids out of school and into the draft, which is really, you're undermining BP. You're undermining the program. So, I mean, he's not working on Auburn's behalf, and he certainly wasn't coordinating payments to prospects. These were kids at Auburn, student athletes at Auburn. So it's a little different than what was going on at Arizona, LSU, South Carolina. We'll just have to see how this thing works out. If you want to know my opinion, and I'm not an expert on these matters, but I have talked to some folks about it, I just don't think this is going to be a big deal for Auburn. I think Auburn's paid the price already. And I think the worst that you're looking at is, that BP has to sit out some games or something like that next year, because I just don't think it's going to get done. It's not going to get adjudicated by the end of this season, so it's going to go into next year. And I mean, they can probably go 5 games without BP if they had to. You do what you got to do. So that's where that's how I feel about that. But understand, everybody here, they are going to get a notice of allegations. That's going to happen, and I think that's reasonable. It's just, like I said, Auburn and Rich McGlynn, who is their director of NCAA compliance, who worked at the NCAA for a number of years, who's a smart cookie, very smart cookie. I know the bunker tends to poop on him a little bit, but I really think he's one of the best guys at Auburn in terms of the competence he shows in his particular job. And he did a lot of work to get Auburn out in front of this. Super chat coming through from one of our absolute stalwarts. Stoop Up 74 says, quick point guards kill Auburn. Javon can't stay in front, and the breakdown that occurs is creating open looks. The opposite is not happening for Auburn on offense. Tend to agree. I mean, Javon's not slow, but he's not a really quick defender. He gets caught flat-footed a lot. The less we say about Jamal as a defender, the better. And then now you're down to like Al, who's a pretty good defender, but really he's better off defending threes than point guards. And then Devin, who's okay. They don't have a lockdown on-ball defender like they had last year with Bryce. They need one, and they're going to have one because Sharif's a hellraiser on that. And I think particularly if they get Jalen Green, he's going to be a tremendous rim protector on the backside too. Because remember, those things kind of work hand in hand. It's okay if you get beat off the dribble up high as long as you're funneling that dude to somebody who's going to swat his shot 40 rows up. That's going to slow him down. All right, I've been on a rant too long. I'm sorry, guys. Just wanted to get you guys set up. Torre says 75 total free throws tonight in the game. Took nearly 2.5 hours. Absurd. A lot of free throws. A lot of fouls. And Auburn was trying to do that. That was part of Auburn's plan. And it worked. Amanda M. says, we struggle as a team with free throws. Indeed, Auburn does. Let's see where Auburn is as of today after losing at Missouri. Auburn now ranks 303rd out of approximately 350 teams in the country. I take that back. They rank 281 in free throw shooting. Not good. 67.2. You'd really like to see that. The national average is 71, so you want to see that up a little bit. Let's see what they were last year. Free throws last year, 71.3, so they're just a little bit above average last year, and then this year they're well below average. Three-point shooting, Auburn is now currently ranked 303rd in the country, and last year they were ranked 21. So there's a big drop. They dropped from 38.5% from three, and now they're down to 30.5. You lost 8 points off your three-point shooting percentage, and that is a big, big hit. Puts a lot more pressure on your defense, doesn't it? And I think Auburn's defense is pretty good, but it's not that good. David B. says, drinking some 92 proof Larceny whiskey tonight, JG. That sounds delicious. Larceny is created right near where this old Ezra is. It's not a Lux Row product, but it's right there. I don't know if it's actually a Heaven Hill product, but it's right at Heaven Hill, right next door, where they make Larceny. Raven says he's enjoying some Maker's Mark. Can't go wrong there. Love me some Maker's Mark. That is distilled in Loretto, Kentucky, which is just a little bit east of Bardstown, in Marion County, Kentucky, which is where my dad was born, where my peoples are from. My great-granddad was a noted bootlegger out of Marion County. Chased around like the Roadrunner and the Coyote by a guy they called the Revenuer back in those days, who was in charge of, he was technically a tax man, but he would have to chase those guys around that were doing the stills and the moonshining and all that stuff. You know, when I talk to people on the bunker about being a proper criminal, I often talk about folks who maybe they do something stupid on the bunker. They don't go crazy, but they do something dumb. I got to ban them for a couple of days, and they accept the punishment and say, hey, man, it's all good. I'm sorry. That's what I call being a proper criminal. And I learned that concept from my great-granddad. He's like, look, man, I got caught a few times. The revenue was a guy named Big Six Henderson, and he said, Big Six caught me. I had to do some time. But when it was time, when he had me, he didn't arrest me in front of my wife. We did it downtown. Because there's a certain honor, you know? Anyway, successful dude, my great-granddad was. Died in 1980, died around Christmas of 1985. First funeral I ever really went to. Stu Pup, coming through again, says, can we give Jamal back to Memphis on the way home? Yow. How about that? TD says, whoa, your granddad was Cornbread Mafia. You know, he technically what he was doing was he ran a honky-tonk in just a little bit south of Lebanon, Kentucky, called the Golden Horseshoe. And, you know, it was known for its music, its liquor, some fighting, ladies, you know, that whole scene. And, you know, when you're running a place like that, you know, you never know what's going on. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah. So those are my people. They're the Lees. That's why I like Jeffrey Lee so much, because we're actually kin somewhere down the line. Because all my people are Lees, and all his people are Lees. So there you go. Really 99 says, how is McLemore so boom or bust? That's a good question. The reason that McLemore is so boom or bust is because he's really a two-trick pony, right? He's got two things he can do well. And it's weird because he really just developed one of them in the last 2 years. But he's a pick-and-pop shooter from three, pretty good. And then he's a good off-ball rim protector or weak-side rim protector. He's not a great on-ball defender, and he's not necessarily a great post defender, but he can protect the rim. And that's really all he gives you. So if the team is having a night where they're not hitting threes, or he's having a night where he's not hitting threes, he doesn't add a lot. He's not great in transition. He's not a great defender. He's not a good shooter per se unless he's shooting that little pick and pop. He doesn't have moves in the post. He's not going to guard like threes or four. He's a bad switch situation when you're defending. So, he's a very limited player. He's got a lot of heart usually. I didn't think he played with a lot of heart tonight, but usually he does. I don't know. TD says, yet you chose journalism. Yeah, so my dad kind of bounced out of that whole scene, right? My dad was a doctor, so he left the small town and became a doctor, and I think he had a lot of respect for his grandparents, my great-grandparents, but it was kind of like, yeah, they're renegades, and that's not really my life. And it was always portrayed to me as like, oh, those people are living a life that's, too fast. Not him specifically, because my great-granddad, he died at like 90 years old. When I'm hanging out with him in like 82, he's an old man. It's not like he's moving too fast at that point, but I'm saying 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That's what I'm talking about. The Canoe Man says, I'm pretty sure Jay Lee has a working still. I don't know as though he has one at the house, but I'm pretty sure he's got access to one. In fact, I'm real sure of it. Yeah. He's had moonshine before. He's offered some to me. I had some grape moonshine. Stuff's hot, but it's pretty good for. It's good for what it is. I see people out there on the internet. They say they're paying. In fact, I looked it up today, and they were looking at $70 for a bottle of that, and it ain't worth that. If you're paying $70, and there's a lot of stuff you can get from $45 to $70, it's really, really good. Blanton's, in my opinion. A lot of people say Blanton's. These folks on the internet who are like serious into bourbon, they're like, Blanton's is so boring. Like, you shut your mouth. We got a super chat coming in from one of our studs, Caddy Wumpus. Says, can't even watch brain drain tonight. Hate it. We stank. Still want to lob in my 2 cents. Or $10. Caddy, appreciate you. Jay Lee said he loves your name because that's a phrase he uses. So, thank you. Let's see. Stu Pup says, not one Mizzou player had a negative plus minus. How about that, huh? Yeah, they got ahead and stayed ahead. And Auburn only had a couple pushes, and then they were just negated, just cut off. Like a snake at the head, right? Just knocked him right off. Well, that Devin Cambridge minus 21 in 15 minutes. That's hard to do. That's really hard to do. It's bad. Really says, David Brown, this wasn't a close game, dog. We couldn't even keep the game close without Sir Isaac. Yeah, I didn't think Auburn had much of a shot in that one. They had one to start with, but the way the game played out, it's like they didn't fire tonight. They just didn't pop. And I'm not shocked. Teams like this are going to have days like this. That's a text from my friend Gabe, who runs the Missouri site. Sent over BP video. I can't really mess with that right now, though. See, Amanda M says, I'm having some Old Smoky moonshine right now. What is it about Old Smoky moonshine, yo? Hickadula? Was drinking that a few weeks back. That's some pretty serious stuff. We stopped by there. I think that place was flooded like mad. My friend Becky sent me and my wife a video of the area right there where Margaritaville is and Old Smoky Moonshine. It's like an open air mall, I guess, and that was really flooded out. Like they were having some real trouble there a week ago. So maybe a little while before you can go back in there and get some more. Although a little dab will do you when it comes to Old Smoky Moonshine, I think. Stoop Up says escaping the small town is hard. They can be like quicksand. I've seen many a talented person get trapped. Still talking about my Padre a little bit. Yeah, it's weird, like, as a regular adult, like when he was my dad and like raising me and stuff, he spoke that way about Lebanon. And then now he's an older dude. I think he goes back there more. But everybody's gone. So I don't know. Let's see. AU Taxman says barrel rum here tonight. I think rum is kind of like the new thing, right? Because the I think when this bourbon situation cools off, I think a lot of these people are going to be going to bourbon and tequila. I've noticed that in my ABC and East Chase, they are carrying more and more tequilas and rums. I will never be switching to tequila because I feel like tequila is a bad idea. I think it's just a bad idea in general. And Jägermeister is a bad idea. If you ever find yourself drinking Jägermeister, like I feel like that's the moment when you know things are not going well. You need to kind of turn it around in the night, whatever's going on. If you're with a girl and you're drinking Jägermeister together, you probably just need to bounce. Now, you can take her with you, but you just need to get out of that situation and go do something else because Jägermeister's never going to lead you anywhere good, ever. It never happens. It never happens that way. And for those of you who are younger and you don't know what I'm talking about, just keep it in your head. Remember, JG said Jägermeister bad. Jägermeister bad. Always. And first of all, it tastes awful. And second of all, it's just it's like a liquid manifestation of bad ideas. Like if bad ideas could be a liquid, that would be Jägermeister. I'm not drinking Jägermeister. I'm drinking Old Ezra 7. Autauga, I'm just going to say Autauga because I can't change. Awuatuga? I don't know. Awuatuga? Says he picked up a couple bottles of Eagle Rare and Selma yesterday. Thanks for the rec. I heard that there was a lot of Buffalo Trace products infused into the state of Alabama this week. There was some stuff that slid into, was it ABC's Chase? Some folks found some Buffalo Trace and acted like they'd found the Holy Grail. I'm like, guys, I mean, I love Buffalo Trace, but geez, come on. Anyway, AU Civil said he's drinking Clyde Mays and pickle juice. Wow, that sounds delicious, huh? Stu Pup has my back on this. As nothing good has ever happened to me when Jaeger's involved. Nobody ever has. I just feel like if you're drinking Jägermeister, it means things are not going well. Or you don't know what you're doing. Which often go hand in hand, right? Patrick B says, great memories with Jägermeister, but definitely has motor oil. Motor oil's motor oil. I don't even know what's in this. I think it tastes like cough syrup or something. I don't know. Not my thing. Canoe Man says, I forgot about that. Canoe Man says, seems like a score redacted kind of night. I'll tell you what, Canoe Man. Think about it, and if you really want me to do that, give it about 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll come back to this. And if you still think that's the kind of night we need to have, then I'll redact the score. We don't want to have it staring you in the face too much. Let's see what else I've got here. We got the standings, although they weren't fully updated when I pulled them. Because Auburn is now 9-2 and technically behind LSU in the standings, but they're really all just, they're kind of right there. So Kentucky, Auburn. These are not fully updated. They're close to fully updated. Tough year for Vandy. Yeah. So Auburn's got Georgia coming up. They're at Georgia. Georgia lost at Texas A&M this weekend. And I actually have their Ken Palm up. Hold on. I cut that before we started. This is Georgia's Ken Palm. And they have lost 8 of their last 9, despite having probably the most talented player in the whole conference, and Anthony Edwards. So they lost at A&M, lost to Carolina, but Carolina's weird, guys. They're very, very physical, and they're a real pain in the ass. Lost in overtime to the Bammers and lost at Florida. So they're just kind of having a hard go of it. I think Allie retweeted somebody the other day that was like, from last year, some UGA pup was like, mark it down, we'll be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament next year. And I'm like, here we are. They're not even going to be like an 8 seed in the SEC tournament. They're terrible. But who knows, man? If Isaac Okoro doesn't play, and I don't think he will, who knows? I mean, I don't think of Georgia as being way worse than Missouri. I mean, they might be worse, but they're not way worse. I don't know. Post of the night right here. Keith M. says, last time I drank Jägermeister, I had to be bailed out. See? You're going nowhere good. Amanda M. says, Jaeger makes men fight. Now, usually it's girls that make men fight. Whether the girls were at fault or not. Usually not, but just in general. One player does not make a team, UGA. I know, he's been trying, dude. It's hard to get things started. I'm not a big Tom Crean believer myself, but he's having a hard time getting it started down there. And as the time goes on, he's going to lay a turd this year, obviously. It's going to be harder. And Auburn goes in there and just tries to steal all their dudes anyway. They don't try. They actually do it. Auburn's basically locked down McEachern, which is cranking out kids left and right. And, Walker Kessler didn't even seriously consider Georgia at the end. It was basically Auburn and North Carolina. So, anyway. Let's see. What else we got going on here? Okay, so this is Georgia's situation. You would think that Auburn would have a good shot at Georgia with or without Isaac. And maybe you think that it was kind of a stinging loss tonight and that maybe that'll get them going for the next game, but I'm not so sure. I'm skeptical because I don't think their shooting's going to get a lot better all of a sudden. That Georgia game is going to be at 6 o'clock. No more late games, thank goodness, on ESPN2. Then you got a home game against Tennessee, which, Auburn plays a lot better at home. And then they got Tennessee and Ole Miss back-to-back at home. You'd think that would help them get on track, and I think definitely Isaac's going to be back for at least one of those games. So I still think Auburn's on track to have a really good year. You start looking at that schedule and you think, okay, Georgia to me is going to be a toss-up, guys. Even though I know Auburn's way better, I'm just skeptical after that Missouri game. So Tennessee a win, I think. Ole Miss a win, I think. Kentucky probably a loss. A&M a win. At Tennessee, I'm tempted to call that a loss. So that would probably end. They would probably sneak in as the 4 seed in the SEC, and that's really what you want because you get that first round bye, and then you just see what happens after that. Shit, you'd like to see them higher, but I don't know, man. Shooting ain't going to suddenly get better. It might for one game, but it ain't going to do that over a period of time. J-Rob AU91 says, "What would change at UGA on the road?" I know. I'm skeptical myself. Auburn's had some good road games earlier. They beat Mississippi State on the road. I thought that was a good win. I thought the win at Ole Miss, I know that was one of those overtime nail-biters, but, they're down 19 and they came back. That was a good win. Beat Arkansas on the road. It was a good win. So, they can do it, but when Auburn lays eggs, it's almost always on the road. I don't know. Canoe Man says, let's get a group trip together for Athens Wednesday night. Team needs the support. I don't even know. I don't know what we can do to make them shoot any better. If Kenny Rogers was there, though, as he used to be when I would go in the 90s over there to cover Kentucky, that might help. He's the gambler, man. It might be good luck. That dude wore a lot of gold, man, when I met him in 96, 97, 98. First of all, I love Kenny Rogers. Because at the time he had a fast food restaurant called Roasters, which I liked. And second of all, he's the gambler. He's a legend. Sang the big song from one of my favorite movies as a kid, Six Pack, called Love Will Turn You Around, which was also featured in Eastbound and Down a few years later. Anyway, TD says the Tip-Off Club is taking a bus to Athens. That's interesting. Excuse me, guys. Get a little coffee. Maybe let me check in with Mr. Nate, young Nate, and see if he wants to holler on the horn. I know Jay Lee is up in the mountains of North Carolina, so I doubt he's going to have much to add. And I don't know what BMAT's situation is. I don't know has baseball finished? Let me take a look. I can see that. It's been a mess. That game's been a mess. Okay, yeah, so they have won that last game. 7-3, it looks like. The second game of the day. It was actually the third game of the series. That Auburn baseball team's going to be legit, you guys. They're going to win a lot of games. Plainsville Joe says, yo, I've been at a volleyball tournament all day. What did I miss? Not much. Canoe Man, tell him what he missed. Amanda M says we really need to win out. That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. There's no way, absolutely no way that a team that's going to shoot this poorly from the free throw line and the three-point line is going to win out. I just don't see it, man. And when it comes to March Madness, you need guards, and I don't know about Auburn's guards. They're fine. They're good players, but they're not dominating players. Canoe Man says there's no chance B-Man has gotten his pre-drain wind sprints in yet. Yeah, guys. All right, man. Let's talk about this game. Damn, man. Where you been? Notorious MGM says B-Matt's sliding into bed. He's ready to chat. Oh, man. I'll check in with B-Matt, too. Amanda says the problem is we win, we don't move up. We lose, we definitely fall in the polls. I don't know if Auburn will fall a real long way here. And the poll I don't care about. Nobody should care about that. You should not care about where Auburn is in the polls. And you're talking to a sports writer here. I mean, I'm kind of going against my own people here, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's an antiquated concept. You know, the AP poll. AP poll, it shouldn't mean much to you. I'm much more interested in the net, and I'm much more interested in KenPom. And we've been harsh on KenPom these last couple of weeks because Auburn was deemed lucky by KenPom. And it kind of kept them lower in the ratings than people would have expected. But, you know. Anyway. It's not something to panic over. Canoe Man, I know you're still thinking about it, bro. Thinking about a redaction. Hey, you Texman says Jay Lee getting into that good old Mountain Dew tonight. Yeah, we'll call it that. Hey, man, he's got the weekend off. He can do whatever he wants to do. We need to give him some time off. He was really going at it there for a while when with the early signing period. And then it picked right back up, and they were trying to get those last few guys and had a lot of kids on campus. And now he's got juniors coming up in a couple weeks. So give him a little give him a little time off while we can. Stu Pup says, can we get Jay Lee to chime in on if this team is elite or not? I'll tell you what his answer is. No. Ben B jumping in. Appreciate the super chat. Again. I'm coughing again. Sorry, guys. Seeding not really affected as long as they win when Okoro gets back. I completely agree. Man, it sucks when they don't have Okoro. He's in a very important part of the team. So, and he's going to be back. He's not, seriously injured. It's just one of those injuries. Yes, Amanda asks, anyone know Okoro's status? So he has a hamstring strain. It's not a particularly bad one. To me, I think it's going to take a week to 10 days to get him back to where they feel comfortable letting him go out there and play at 100%. So to me, that means you sit out Missouri, you sit out Georgia, and then you either try to come back for the Tennessee game or, at worst, he plays against Ole Miss. And then he goes to Kentucky full speed. That's the status. It was not a particularly bad injury, thank goodness, for Auburn. Also, you may have seen this on Twitter today, but this has been a tough day in a sense for Chad Pruitt because his youngest daughter, I'm coughing again. His youngest daughter's a senior at Lee Scott, and they're playing for the Class 3A AISA state title today against Glenwood, and he was really bummed out that he wasn't going to be able to see her play. She's here in Montgomery playing at the multiplex, so I know that's been tough for him. You know, he used to coach at Lee Scott. He's a career coach, and he's had so many of his daughters. He's had 3 daughters, I think, play at LSA, and they've all been good, and I think it just kills him, man. I mean, I know it's part of the job, and he wasn't bitching about it. He was just like, man, it bums me out that I can't be there. You know, sometimes when you're a dad or mom and you miss those moments, it's tough. All right. We're going to get Sir Nate on the horn here. dadgummit, I started calling him. All right. He's got that funky number. I was like, that's not a Huntsville number. And that's when he goes, from Orlando. Okay. Segregation academies. That's not very nice, TD. It's not very nice.
Hey, hello?
Yeah, is this Nate?
It sure is.
How long has it been since you've had your ass whooped?
Let's see. When did I last go to Gainesville?
Hey, now.
I'm laughing because as I was coming into this other room because I knew you were going to call me, I'm just laughing because I know that a post-loss brain drain is just incredible, and it's been a while since we've had one. So I'm very excited for you.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of slow tonight. I think that people are bummed out, and as you would expect. And there really hasn't been a lot of angry chatter on here. It's been more sullen, I think.
Really?
Yeah, they've been just kind of sullen.
Color me shocked. Well, I guess it really, at this point, it's not like it's kind of like like they were maybe going to lose one of these two road games.
Yeah,
it's kind of understood.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it too. Obviously, when you look at the stats, Nate, I mean, 1 of 17 from 3 is really, really bad. Anything else stick out about this loss to you?
Yeah. Well, I thought Bruce had a really good quote about it, saying that, look, they scored 73 points on the road. That's not terrible. They shot 47% for the game, also really good. And they went to the line 46 times. So, where does all that stuff not add up? Well, obviously, you shot 47% for the game, but you only shot 6%, 1 for 17 from 3. That's not going to cut it no matter what. I don't care how bad Auburn's defense was tonight. If they had gotten some of those threes to go, this would have been a ball game with just a few minutes left. So their offense, the way they were running their offense wasn't terrible. You probably thought the same. I didn't mind some of the looks they were getting from 3. It was the basic stuff that you see a lot, Purifoy in the corner, maybe a screen for Samir going under it, a screen kicking back to McLemore for 3. I didn't mind a lot of their looks. They just weren't going in tonight, and as a result, it was the worst since they went 0 for against Kentucky in 2013. They went 0 for 15. But I also thought the free throws, that's a big issue as well. I know that's been a problem all year long, and it's had its waves. It's kind of gone up and down. It had been improving recently, but to miss 16 free throws, I know you went 46 times, but to miss 16 like that, that's another one of those factors where, look, if that had been improved even just a little bit, this would have been a ball game down there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they lost by 12. You think if they shoot their normal percentage, they get 4 or 5 more at the line, but you never expect them to go 1 of 17. I love the way that they drove tonight. I thought they were really successful doing that, getting to the line, getting those guys in foul trouble, but you've got to hit some threes, Nate. You know what I mean? You got to hit a few.
Yeah, so they shot 20 for 28 inside the arc, and that is just absolutely phenomenal. Like you said, they played exactly how their offense is supposed to go. I thought the standard, I don't know what we're going to call it, but the, Wiley double screen for Samir, and he just kind of rolls to the basket, whether he goes under the screen and shoots, whether he shoots as he's going to the basket, or whether he kind of takes contact. That play always works well. It worked really, really well tonight. I thought Javon was really successful after he shook off some early turnovers. Obviously, Wiley was great. But getting the threes to go, like you said, you have all that success. You get to the line so many times. You've got to have some of those threes to fall. And so you're not going to have that kind of a bad performance every single night. But at the same time, you can't let another team shoot that hot because, these defensive issues that they have tonight, that goes well beyond just missing Isaac Okoro.
Yeah.
Even if you had him tonight, there were a lot more problems than just not having your most versatile defensive player.
Yeah, they need some defense off the bench, man. Jamal was bad. Devin was bad. D'Angelo was bad. Al was obviously a starter tonight because Okoro went there. I thought his defense was okay. Just thought he should not be shooting threes, Nate.
Yeah, I was impressed with a lot of what Flanagan did. What, he had 6 rebounds. Obviously, he was a quote-unquote starter, but he didn't necessarily play the minutes of a starter. Yeah, Jamal's had some really – I tweeted this, that he's had some puzzling defensive sequences as of late. I was talking to you about it last week when I was unable to watch the LSU game, and I was just listening on the radio. All I could hear was Andy Burcham saying, Well, Jamal was out of position there. Well, Jamal got his back turned there. Well, he wasn't set up there. And some people on Twitter were talking to me about this. And if he's not giving you threes off the bench, if he's not your 3-point specialist, then what is he really providing you with on the court? So that's just another example of, for Auburn, look, without Okoro, they didn't get much. They didn't get what they needed out of Jamal, which they're just asking him to get some threes. D'Angelo had 7 points, but he really didn't give you much else on defense. I think McLemore only had 2.
Right.
And then Cambridge, as if his defense was okay, and he didn't have any points, as if that wasn't bad enough in terms of a lack of production. He goes and gets himself ejected, further thinning that bench. So it was just a lot of little things that I thought really piled up tonight.
I was saying earlier in the show, Nate, that even though they lost this game, it doesn't really change how I feel about the team. We kind of knew the warts coming in, and we knew at some point this is going to rear its head. Does this change much for you about how you think this team can perform in Nashville and beyond?
Not much, no. To me, what this does is it kind of grew a new root of maybe a problem Auburn's got right now, and it's something that we talked about last week. Obviously, when Alabama hit an SEC record for three-pointers, is this perimeter defense. And not just perimeter defense, just defense in general. If you look at their defensive efficiency metrics, which I have been in those stat stories I've been doing, they've just been dwindling a little bit over the past few weeks, and that's been with Okoro. That's been with Okoro in the lineup. Now you removed your most versatile defensive player. I thought Austin Wiley was still really good tonight on defense, like he was against Alabama. But yeah, that's been kind of an issue lately, and I'm sure that's something Pearl's aware of, and he's going to really look at that. But no, all in all, it really doesn't change that much. Like you and I've been talking about, they're not going to shoot that badly from 3 every game, especially when they get the looks. I think they wanted. They got a lot of good looks, and I think their defense is going to improve, and Okoro is going to come back, obviously. So I think the main things for me right now is that defense, and you do need more out of your bench. That's been a storyline all year. I know you got a lot of starters, a lot of seniors in the starting lineup that you can really lean on, but you still need these guys like Cambridge and Flanagan to be more consistent. I mean, Cambridge is one of the most wildly inconsistent players Auburn has right now. And they really need these guys to step up, because that's all they needed tonight. They just needed a few guys to step up for Okoro, and on both ends of the ball, it did happen.
What do you predict for this game against Georgia? They probably need to get themselves straightened out, but I'm just skeptical about their ability to get it done on the road, even though Georgia's not been very good, Nate.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about this upcoming game as I did about this one, where it's just like, people would ask me, do you think Auburn's going to win? And it's like, well, they should. They probably should. They're definitely a better team than Missouri. I think they're better. I mean, of course they're a better team than Missouri. And they're a better team than Georgia as well. But it's just, number one, it's hard to win on the road in the SEC, period. And it's hard to win when you don't have arguably your best player and definitely your most versatile player, which I'm not sure they'll have Isaac Okoro back for Georgia. And, Georgia's capable of scoring a lot of points. They've got a pretty efficient offense when you look at it. And then obviously they've got a superstar, Anthony Edwards. So it's going to be tough. But at the same time, I don't feel like this is the same situation that we had earlier in the year when it was like, okay, they got blown out at Alabama, and they really didn't have any time to recover against Florida. They just kind of go back on the road, same offensive issues, and it was like, okay, what did you expect? I feel like this is a different team now, a team with kind of its wits about it a little more. I don't really think this was a punch in the stomach as much as Alabama was. I think this is kind of a gut check. You've been winning a lot of games. Here's a humbling road loss, and so I feel pretty good about the chances, but probably about the same as tonight, honestly.
Word, that's about how I felt too. Well, we'll see what happens, bro. They'll get Isaac back before too long. Certainly, they're going to get him back within 2 weeks, I would think. So, I don't think he'll play against Georgia, but he'll probably be back right after that. My thought.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the Tennessee game, right? Like maybe eyeing that as a return for him, if not the game following that, which I think the one after that is Texas A&M, is it? No, it's Ole Miss after that. Yeah, so sometime in that time frame, but you come back home. But again, like we talked about before, you certainly don't want to rush that, because he's a guy that you need in Nashville and you need in March. Right now, Auburn, again, I think even if they had him tonight, playing the way that they did with the tendencies and the struggles that they had in those individual spots, I don't know if they would have won with him tonight. It wasn't an Isaac Okoro-sized hole. It was much bigger than that on both ends of the floor.
Nate, you're doing a hell of a job, bro. I'm glad to have you here with us at auburnsports.com.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Behave yourself.
All right. You do the same. See you later.
See ya. There's young Nate. Young Nate. One of the good guys. Glad to have him. Although he is young. Let's see. I did miss a super chat when we had him on the horn. I did give Ben B his shout out, as I mentioned earlier. And we had one come through from Warren C. Says, Dinger, when will Barron start seeding? JG, please encourage him. Barron, don't you worry about a thing, bro. You're going to get right back on that horse, and you're going to go out and do what you do, okay? That's that. I have a story to share, but I don't want to share it just yet. I've told it before. I've been in your shoes. It's not a big deal. You just get over it. Reminds me of The Hangover Part 2, I think. He's like, dude, just forget about it. That one's going to be harder to forget about, but you forget about it. I mean, it takes a little time. Takes a little time sometimes. That's what Amy Grant used to sing. All right, there we go. B-Matt said he needed just another few minutes. I think he was wrapping up a baseball story. I wanted to talk to him a little bit about maybe just kind of get his ideas about this game, even though he didn't see it. He was doing baseball, but he's seen everything else with basketball, and just kind of see what he thinks about what happened as someone who didn't see it, and then also talk about baseball a little bit. Taking on those hated Flames of Illinois, Chicago. Let's see. Canoe Man says young Nate is strong to quite strong. Yeah, Nate's good, man. I really would. When young Ben left us, I was sad because I thought Ben would be with us for a while, but Ben had other ideas about things he wanted to do with his career, which, anytime we have a young person here, I always feel like my job, number one, is to help them get better. And if they want to stay, if it works for them to stay, then, set up a situation where they can. And I thought Ben was getting better, and then Ben had some ideas he wanted to go over to Georgia and do some different stuff over there. So we got Nate basically on Ben's recommendation, and Nate's been great. Nate is so far ahead of any of us, me, B-Matt, Jay Lee, at that same age. He's a good rider, really good rider for his age, and asks good questions, and he's just very aware. I think he's a really going to be a special reporter, and we're definitely going to keep him here as long as we can, which is, I'm hopeful, is going to be, a little while, years. He and his gal are getting married here soon, and they would like to live in this area, so have that working in my favor. I know you guys like Nate. He does a good job. AU Taxman says Nate could make a career out of this. I agree. TD says Nate is surprisingly good, actually, and that's not even factoring in his age. He's still 21, Canoe Man says, honestly, I hope B-Mac calls in while mowing his grass. I asked B-Mac, was it last week? Or it was in the last week when I asked him what happens when he's out walking and he's got to go. Nature calls. I think he's phoned a friend before. I think he has. Notorious MGM says, will B-Mac call while putting the tarp on the field? We're rolling it out, guys. Hold on. Get it. Oh, get him out. Oh, sorry, JG. Sorry. Okay, what were you asking? He's a man who can do a lot of different things. Wears a lot of different hats, we like to say, in the biz. All right, to kind of circle back on the basketball tip, we don't want to leave the score up too long. Canoe Man found that troublesome, problematic, and I understand where you're coming from on that. The Auburn Tigers lost by approximately 12 points tonight. We'll just leave it at that. I agree with a lot of the things Nate was saying, and you know this because I mentioned it before he came on the show. I thought offensively Auburn was okay. I mean, the 1 of 17 is not good, but I still think they mitigated that for the most part by driving, getting to the cup, getting to the free throw line. And on a night where they're having one of the worst shooting nights they could ever have, they were still afloat on the scoring end. But 85 points to concede, 7 of 13 from 3. Nope. Not good enough, guys. Not good enough against a team that just doesn't really have that. They shouldn't be scoring like that. Shouldn't be. And typically, I think of Auburn's defense as being pretty good. So some lapses there, and Nate mentioned one of the last things he said was that he didn't think Isaac being here, had he been able to play, would have fixed this problem because the hole was bigger than Isaac Okoro. And I agree. I just wonder if Isaac not being here just kind of creates a mental thing. It's like, hey, we've lost a very important cog, and now we're screwed. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if they feel that strongly about Isaac. I know he's an awesome player. We would all agree, but does he have enough cachet with the team where they feel like they're defeated if he's not out there? I mean, Samir's a pretty experienced dude. Wiley's an experienced dude. D'Angelo, for what he is, a very experienced dude. I don't know, but we all would agree that something wasn't right tonight. And we can say, well, Mizzou had a great night. They did. Still should be closer than that. All right, we'll see if we can get B-Matt on the horn. I think we've given him enough time. He said he needed 15 minutes, and that was 12 minutes ago. I guess I'm cutting it a little close. Administrative assistant in the house. How did I get windburn? From being outside? Do I seem red to you guys? I was outside doing the soccer thing today, as I mentioned at the top of the show, watching the Lamp Lady Golden Tigers. Missed the second half of their final against Stanhope Elmore to be doing the game thread, and Madison scored 2 goals this weekend. At least 2. 2 goals and 3 assists. Not bad. Bad. She scored on some really long free kicks. Scored on a long one against some team that we crushed. West Point, maybe? And then, maybe 2 against West Point then. I have one up on my Facebook page, but most of you guys are probably not friends with me. I did post it. She's got a very strong leg, my daughter does. She can really boom it. Waiting on an answer from B-Matt for you guys. I know we haven't had a ton of folks on the show tonight. It doesn't surprise me. It's a disappointing loss, and frankly, Saturday night. Do we really want to be on a show and listen to JG drone on and on about how we lost the game? No, I understand. So we talked a little bit more about some bourbon issues and Nate King and all that kind of stuff. AU Taxman says Lamp didn't have its own sports teams when I was there. Well, they do now. Most of them don't win a lot, but soccer teams, I would say decent. Girls soccer, boys soccer, I would say is a little better than decent, or have been. Oh, he says you had to play for the Poet, so that must have been like when Sonya was there, and it was at the top of Sidney Lanier High School at that point. What? When you say soon, do you mean like in the next 20 minutes? Okay, so the administrative assistant has just let me know that there's going to be a party at my house. Kids here at the house. Like, how many kids are we talking? 6 or 8? Is it going to be boys and girls? Girls? What? So I just got on the air. Like, what happened? How did this come about? Who's we all? Is the unbelievable? I want a refund. I'm pretty sure about it. I shouldn't be. Should I talk about that on the air? No, I can't talk about it on the air. Bet my daughter some money that something was going to happen, and then I was wrong, and now I'm thinking I'm going to end up being right, but it was too late. I am not a fan of this at all. I don't want boys in my house. I don't mind girls, but boys, once you do that, you get into trouble. I hear a boy's. I'm upstairs. I'm in the bedroom area of the house, and I hear a boy's voice. I'm not happy about this. I need to check this out. All right, we're getting to the bottom of this. I was telling the folks that, sorry guys, that you're just having people over?
Yeah.
Well, nobody told me about this.
I asked her.
Oh, administrative assistant is certainly empowered to make those kinds of decisions, but I felt like I would have been looped in.
You're looped in now.
And there's going to be boys here too?
There's 3 of them. One's name is Jay.
How do I not know these people?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean I don't know? You've been living in the house for 17 years. Do you have any updates you'd like to tell folks?
Not for real.
What sweatshirt are you wearing? Transylvania. Uh-oh. Do you think you're going to go there?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay. You look really red.
Yeah, soccer.
I told him that you scored 2 goals.
I did.
And you had some assists, too.
A lot.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I hope you have a nice night.
All right, peace
Please
out.
behave yourself. I don't want to hear boys' voices up here. Because it just concerns me.
Okay.
Is there anybody I know?
Night Grace and Rimbam and Anna.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. I don't know. If you guys, I don't know how many parents I got on here, but when I hear that there's guys coming over to my house, I'm not real fired up about that. I generally would prefer guys not be involved. That's when trouble starts, you know? I know this because I used to be a guy. Now I'm just a dad. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Canoe Man says, if JGT needs backup, anyone in the MGM area that can help our brother out. Thank you for rallying the troops. TD says, kind of awkward when he unexpectedly gets up for a family emergency. It's not quite that bad. And forgets to put his pants on. I don't have pants on, but I do have shorts on, so it's all good, guys. No problem. Nothing shady going on here at all. Oh, bourbon cabinets. You better lock the bourbon cabinet. Well, for us, the bourbon's on top of the cabinet, so I can't really lock it. I put the special stuff. I want to show you guys something. So I don't know if you guys ever follow Chance over at the Ole Miss site. I know some of y'all do because of G-Pits and whatnot, but he got a hold of what he called was some 70s era Maker's Mark the other day. And here, let me finish that story in just a second because Fat Crack just super chatted us. Appreciate you, Fat Crack. You're always here for us. Says JGT just got home from a quick work trip, and all I heard all the way home was Andy losing his mind over the refs. Yeah, Andy was fired up tonight. Andy gets fired up a lot, but he was maxed out tonight. I did not get a chance to watch, so were the second half calls that bad? Thank you, sir. In aggregate, they were probably a little below average, but at the point when he was losing his mind, they were pretty bad. So they had like a foul that they called on Cambridge when I thought Cambridge got pulled down, but they ended up calling a foul on Cambridge. And then as Cambridge got up, he stepped on the dude's leg, probably on purpose in my judgment, but I don't know. He'll probably say he didn't mean to. That was reviewed on video and was determined to be a flagrant 2, so he got ejected. And then they got like 4 free throws and possession, and then not too long after that, BP lost his mind and he got technical. And so I didn't think the refs handled all that stuff all that great. He was pretty fired up about that. Okay, but anyway, thank you, Fat Crack. Appreciate you for that super chat, and you're always here with us. So anyway, Chance was talking about how he got this like 70s single barrel select Maker's Mark, and he acted like he'd really found something special. You know, like, oh my God, guys, listen to this. Look what old Daddy's got here, huh? Pull this one out from the archives. So this is an early 80s vintage Maker's Mark. Private barrel select, 90 proof. So I used to always tell you guys, you know, when I was in college, you had the Maker's Mark Red, the Maker's Mark Gold. This is the gold. So I guess Maker's Mark Red at the time was 80, and this is 90. And I've got this. This is probably my most prized bourbon possession. And on the front it says ABC. You guys can't see that, but it says ABC Concrete, Jason Tate, Jim Gillis. Jason Tate is my granddad from Lebanon, and ABC Concrete was his business. And then Jim Gillis is my uncle. So this was a big deal right here to have this. This was actually willed to me. And I've not had a single taste of it. It has been opened. I think it's been opened. There's not much missing, but it looks like it's been opened. But I'm pretty fired up to drink some of this one of these days. But I'm not going to drink it on a day that Auburn loses. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Anyway, I'll see. I know I missed some stuff on here. Anyway, Fat Crack, thank you, yo. David Brown says, lock it down, JG. Administrative assistant will be keeping an eye on that bourbon, too, and she takes that very personally because she loves that stuff as well. LB Puppy says, Jay in straight daddy mode. TD says, Andy did apologize when he was really wrong that one time, and rightly so. Yeah, and Andy kind of did, too, tonight. He was kind of like, yo. I got a little bit animated there. Sorry, guys. Dear administrative assistant, your daughter wants to know where are the Cards Against Humanity? Don't ever lead her under the blanket. Let's not do that. Cards Against Humanity, great. This is great. Hey, I mentioned earlier on the show, administrative assistant. I don't know if you would agree with this. I think you would. If you're ever in a situation and you're drinking Jägermeister, you need to stop what you're doing and get the heck back, right? Nothing good happens when you're drinking Jäger. Yeah. And you would know. She says Jaeger bombs are nasty and it's just bad news all the time. So, well, I don't drink gin. I don't think gin leads to bad choices the way that Jägermeister does. And tequila also is a problem. I do want to give a shout out while I'm thinking of it because my man J-Dub is a big guy that says better be careful with tequila. My man J-Dub has been under the weather for a number of days. I think he has probably the same crap that I've had the last 2 weeks. So if you're watching out there, J-Dub, we've been thinking about you, bro. And if I can get across town to see you, I'm aiming to one of these days. I feel like I'm probably immune to whatever you have. So I can hang out with you and stuff. Ain't no big deal. Stu Pup says Jaeger equals bad. Absolutely. It is. TD says there are family heirlooms and then there's that. Yes. I really want to have a sip of it, but I mean, there's no more where that came from. You know what I mean? Hell, it's hard enough to find any of that gold Maker's Mark. I always felt like I was telling that story and nobody believed me that they used to have the gold Maker's Mark. It was just kind of normal stuff. All right, we're going to get B-Matt on the horn. I know for a fact that he's ready to roll, so let's do that. Sorry, guys. I got a little excited there. Oh, my goodness. We got a big super chat that just came through from Shane G. He says, "Hey JGT, this is Shane from the bunker. I promised you $1,000 for banning a local vertical. You did your part, and now I am doing mine. Here's the first installment on the $1,000. God bless you for saving the bunker, JGT." Listen, man, I think you've gone far enough now. Appreciate you doing that. I appreciate that huge super chat. And I'm happy to say that a local vertical, at least that handle, is not really bothering us anymore. Although we have a few, it's like a whack-a-mole situation. You knock one down, there's a couple more that are going to pop up, like Torqued. But, hey, man, I appreciate the super chat, and we don't have to worry about that dude anymore. So, there you go. Let's get on the horn with Mr. B-Matt. The soothing sounds of Mr. Brian Matthews. Oh, yeah. This is the Quiet Storm.
What's going on?
What up, B-Matt? Word.
How's it going?
Hey, what are your thoughts on Jägermeister, bro? Do you like it or not?
I haven't really drank it since
College?
college. You know, it's just not my thing. It's just one of those cheap things that you did back in the day, just if you wanted a quick drunk or something.
I feel like it just takes you in bad directions, just in general, you know?
Yeah. Well, that and tequila can definitely do that to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's done it to me, yeah.
All right, so you didn't do basketball tonight because you were doing baseball, and they had a good weekend. But I just want to know, like, just kind of you seeing the numbers, you know, from your perspective when you weren't there to see it. Are you surprised that the basketball team had the kind of trouble that they had tonight at Missouri?
Well, I actually watched the entire basketball game. I thought that was more important. You know, I just sort of kept up with baseball, but I thought it was important. I watched basketball from start to finish, which I did, and I think they played like they have in a lot of the road games, right? I mean, they were terrible from the outside to start out at least.
I guess.
Defensively, they certainly weren't as good as they've been, but they got behind by double digits again. But this time they didn't have somebody get hot late and start drilling threes or whatever to pull them back. And, that was going to happen eventually. And I thought the players made a fundamental mistake of, and I don't know if Bruce talked about this. I did not get to hear in post game, but, Missouri was down a couple players. They were in foul trouble. Auburn should have been driving to the basket constantly during that second half. I think they ended up having 2 guys foul out, but they could have had 3 or 4 other guys foul out. They would have done that a little bit more consistently. And then they sort of could have taken over with their depth and their, experience and all that. I just thought they made a mistake by continuing to launch those threes. I know it worked against, Alabama, to continue to shoot and some other teams, but it certainly didn't work tonight.
Yeah, 1 of 17 from three-point range is almost impossible. It seems that way anyway. But
yeah,
as you mentioned, they've
been doing 1 of 10, 1 of 12, 0 of 11. That's been going on all season long.
Yeah. So they decided instead to kind of drive to the hole, and they had some success doing that. They got to the line, I think, 46 times, but their percentage there was a little bit lower than it normally is. And they didn't quite finish it off, B-Matt. Like you mentioned, they got some guys in foul trouble, but they didn't quite knock out all the guys they got in trouble, right?
Yeah, and they could have been to the line 60 times. Seriously, they really could have if they would have kept taking it. I just thought they settled for way too many outside shots. I thought some guys showed their immaturity. Devin Cambridge, for one, didn't play very well at all. Anthony McLemore, senior, had one of his worst games.
Yeah.
I don't know, what was going on there. Maybe it's just one of those nights for him. But, they need some guys to really step up without Isaac Core, and it definitely didn't happen tonight.
Does this change your opinion of this ball club, B-Matt, as far as, what they can do in Nashville and beyond? Do you think this is still a pretty good team that can do some damage in the postseason?
They're definitely a pretty good team. They're 22-3 now. Is that right? I felt all along this is a team that could go to the NCAA tournament and make a little run. I think you get knocked out in the first round. I still feel that way. I think
Yikes.
They can lose to just about any decent team they play. And I think they can beat almost anybody they play too if they play well enough.
Yeah, it's a kind of a frustrating team in a way. I mean, we know the holes. We know they don't have good 3-point shooting, but there's going to be days when they can fill that up, and there's going to be days when they can't.
Yep. If they had a Bryce Brown or a Jared Harper, it would be different, but they don't. And it just doesn't seem like anybody's going to become that guy you can absolutely 100% depend on, to shoot decently from 3. I thought Joe Purifoy was going to be that guy for this team, but he's just not. And he's just missing that extra 10% that can make him a great player. He just doesn't quite do it on defense. He doesn't take it to the hole enough. He uses athleticism. He doesn't have that eye of the tiger. And then Jamal Johnson, I know he can deliver some threes sometimes, but he doesn't do anything else offensively, and he's definitely trouble on defense. I don't mean to get knocks from these kids. I'm just trying to keep it real.
Yeah. Baseball-wise, B-Matt, obviously a pretty successful weekend. Do you feel like you learned anything about the team so far?
Yeah, they're really deep and they're really good. I mean, they can hit up and down the lineup. I mean, there was many times during Butch's first 4 years that they could barely, scratch together a 6 or 7, 5 or 6, quality SEC guys in the lineup, and they're always trying to juggle maybe 2 or 3 decent starters and 2 or 3 decent bullpen pieces. Well, now they're just, they've got an extra 4 or 5 guys that could be starters on this team right now. So they're still trying to figure out, which one of those guys is going to step up and, who they can use and how they're going to use them. And they've got so much depth in this pitching staff. It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
I mean, they've used, I don't know the total they've used, but I think they've used over 10 pitchers already in 3 games. I think it's well more than 10 actually. And, they're probably going to use 3 or 4 tomorrow too. And I don't think they're going to have to, reuse anybody. I think that's just everybody making one appearance. So they've got a ton of good depth on this team. And I think it's good this weekend they're getting so much experience. Everybody's getting at bats. Everybody's getting innings pitched. So, everybody's sort of getting that little experience that's going to help them as we move forward.
Word. Are you in bed yet?
No, I'm at Clayton Park still.
I knew that.
Trying to, finish things up here.
Word. I did have a question from the chat. Wanted to know about Tyler Miller. What do you know about him?
Yeah, he's a very good player. He's played, I think, mostly left field, but he can play some middle infield for Auburn too. And he's got a really good-looking stick. He's not a really big kid, but he's got a lot of bat speed. And he's a guy that just early on seeing him, I think he's a junior college transfer. I think he played 1 year in junior college, if I'm not mistaken. But just seeing him really for the first time, he's not gonna take a lot of pitches. He's gonna go out there and be aggressive, and get a lot of big hits for Auburn, I think. And probably a guy that's batted fifth, I think, in the lineup so far. So some pretty good pop for his size. But I see him more as a 7, 8, 9 hitter that can really light things up down there eventually. But we'll see.
Word.
But I'm impressed so far.
B-Matt, you're doing a hell of a job. I want you to get home. You've been in that dang press box long enough.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
All right, B-Matt. Word.
All right, word.
Yeah. Me and B-Matt are getting together on, I think, Monday to interview a intern candidate. So we will see what happens. I don't know if we're going to get Nate involved in that one or not. And again, Jay Lee's on special assignment for a few days. So he's good. Stu Pup says, baseball team going to throw gas and hit bombs. It's going to be fun. Yeah, I think this team's going to win a lot of games. I've said all along, and I mean, it's not necessarily a hot take, but when they hired Butch, I was like, that's the guy you need, and he's going to kick ass. And, he's kicking ass now. Got him to the College World Series last year, and, I mean, I think once you get to super regionals, you never can assume anything because you don't know what the matchup's going to be, but he sure does have a team that's worthy of the College World Series, it seems like to us on paper. Got a lot of dudes, a lot of hitters, a lot of fielders, a lot of pitchers. It reminded me of that Between Two Ferns when Will Ferrell was on there, and he's like, a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, a lot of laughs. Why are you talking about the mantra? Okay, just kidding. Sorry, I love Between Two Ferns, except for the political ones. I don't really get into those as much, but the other ones are really funny. We got a question there. Raven says, "Is B-Matt on a Nordic track?" Hey guys, I'm here at Bellingsman Park. He's been there like all day for real. Because those games are so long, 9 innings. Yay. Canoe Man now saying that maybe they really do need to add a Nordic track to the Plainsman Park press box. I spent a lot of days in there back in the old days, back in the 2000s, when I was at the Advertiser, and Hal was still there, and then Renfro. They had some good teams, man. I still tell people to say, well, it's changed a little bit here in the last few years, but they say, like, what's your favorite game you ever covered? And I would say Kick 6 now because that was so crazy. But before that, it was the 99 Super Regional at Florida State. And that's not the one where David Ross hit the ding-dong to win it, which is great too. But I just thought that particular game, it was the last game they played there, and it was when Brent Schoening was pitching. And it was just an absolutely epic struggle. And they ended up losing it. Coulter Bean came in, who was usually just a shutdown guy, and he gave up a few like little pissy hits. It wasn't anything good, and they just missed a play at first base, and Florida State won. And I thought, man, that was a hell of a game. Brent Schoening, that day, I think he pitched 7 1/3. Literally left it on outfield. Like he pitched 145 pitches or whatever, and Brent Schoening is supremely underrated, I think, when you look back on some of the great baseball players that have played at Auburn. I mean, Tim Hudson's obviously a stud, and Frank Thomas is obviously a stud. I mean, those guys are great, but I'm talking about the guys that weren't, professional Hall of Famers who were just really good college players. Brent Schoening deserves to be in that conversation, I think. He was so good. Had such a professional attitude about everything, and he just got it done. And he lived that baseball life too, man, Brent Schoening. The pride of Columbus, Georgia. Actually always dreamed of playing for LSU, but ended up playing at Auburn. He would wear his LSU hat around sometimes. I never really got that, but. David Brown says it's been a while since that last pull on the whiskey, JG. Yo, I mean, I just had one. Like, I'm trying to be responsible, guys. Let's see. How many interviews are you going to do for the intern gig, Stu Pup says. I'll probably only do one if this young lady is what I think we're looking for. I don't really feel like we need an intern, you all, honestly, because I have plans on keeping Nate So that means it'd be me, B-Matt, Nate, and Jay Lee as a full-time. And, I mean, that's enough, I think. And when she first approached me about it, I was like, I don't even think we could use an intern. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, there's some stuff we could do here and there and everywhere. But I'm just going to talk with her and see what she wants to do, what she'd be willing to do. See, Warren C says, JG, thanks for the encouragement from my boy Barron. Get back on those. Get back on the horse, Barron, I think is what you meant to say. Horse. Get back on the horse. Yeah. AU boss says, call God Cammett. I don't want to talk to him. He's kind of made me angry a few times. He should be funnier than he is, too, by the way. I can't believe in football season we had all those folks calling the show. They were great. And now some of them have turned into total turds on the site. It bothers me, and we should be better than that, my opinion. All right, guys, probably wrap it up there. I know we haven't had a ton of folks on tonight just because, it's kind of a bummer. They lose, and it's like, damn. All those overtime wins, and then you're going to go out there and just lay one against Missouri. But, it happens sometimes. Just as a reset, there's the schedule. At Georgia Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. Tennessee and Ole Miss at home. Then you got the game in Rupp Arena that Kentucky people are starting to talk about already. But, we got to see what Auburn can do here in these next 3 games. I think they're going to have trouble at Georgia. Young Nate thinks they're going to have trouble at Georgia. I didn't ask B-Matt, but I would respect his opinion on that, and I will get it as soon as I can. So, yeah. Canoe Man says, we are Auburn people for crying out loud. Stoop Up says, I just accepted a new job. I had to do 4 interviews in a week, and they sent my references a 2-page questionnaire. Yo, when Allie, she got a job at ESPN maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they called me, ESPN did, for like a reference, which is great. I mean, I'm here to help. But, I mean, that thing went on for like 20 minutes. They're asking me all kinds of stuff. And we were on vacation when they called. We were at a hotel in Washington. And, dude, I had shit to do. At the same time, I want to make sure Allie gets what she wants. So, and she did get the job. So, yeah, there you go. Canoe Man says, congrats on the job. Hey, that's the kind of positivity I like to see. I bet Blake would do that if he was still around. He's a very positive dude. David Brown says, peace out, more damn Eagle. All right, bro. I'll probably wrap it up there. We have gone an hour and a half, which I feel like is a good, solid show. And I know they lost, and people are kind of pissed about it, and I get it. It's frustrating, particularly to go 1 of 17 from three-point range. I mean, we know that's not a great shooting team, but you want them better than that, right? Of course you do. Of course you do. I want to give a special thank you to all of our super chatters. Really 989, Stoop Up, who went in a few times there. Caddy Wumpus, the Canoe Man, Ben B, Warren C, Fat Crack, and then, of course, the coup de grace there at the end was Shane G, which he said was a partial payment for me banning a local vertical. You, dadgummit. You've done more than enough, Shane. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. AU bosses, don't leave us, Jay. I got to go, man. Plus, we've got the All-Star game Saturday night going on, right? That'd be fun. The skills competition. Stoop Up says, this was fun, but you need to give the side eye to some teenage boys. I don't even know these cats who are down there. I'd like to know who these cats are. I don't want to go introduce myself. It's my house. They should introduce themselves to me. I'll be like, who are you? What are you doing here? And then when I leave, they're going to be like, dude, your dad's a dick, man. She probably gets that a lot anyway. I don't know. I'm kind of weird. B-Mac in the house. Wow, a late super chat. Thank you, B-Mac. Another one of our folks who are always here for us. TD says we probably needed another loss. This is no big deal. Actually, I tend to agree with that. Just don't want to lose the next 2 to go along with it. I think, yes, when the team keeps winning these overtime games, I mean, BP's fired up about it, but it's like it's harder to tell your kids about the things that are going wrong because they're like, yo, we keep winning. But then you go to Missouri and you get your face punched in and you lose by 12 to a team that you probably should have beaten by 12. And then maybe the words carry a little bit more weight, you know what I mean? You can say, hey, Aunt, maybe you need to do a little bit more than picking and popping and going 0 for 3. You know, maybe there's some other things you could do, considering you're like 30 years old and you've been here forever. I'm just saying these kind of conversations. TD says, as soon as this ends, JG is going to get his collection of shotguns, which he doesn't have bullets for, and he's going to take them to the lower level to pretend to clean them. It's weird, man. I am a gun guy. I feel like I'm a gun guy, but I don't actually own a gun. I mean, I ran the rifle range when I was doing the summer camp thing. I actually ran it like a stud. Like, I cleaned the guns and I made sure they were in tip-top condition, which had not been going on for the years prior to when I took over the rifle range. And I would love to have one. I really want to have like a big-ass Desert Eagle, like a 50 cal or a 44 cal Desert Eagle. And I'm going to be looking for one and then take it over here to the range and fire that bad boy and get a little bit more used to it. Let's see, B-Max says he ate at Voodoo Mobile tonight. Awesome. That's awesome. Says, was great. Michael and Jan were in the house. I have heard that is a great location, that it's bigger than the one in Auburn. They've got kind of like a bar in the middle. He sent me a picture, and I thought it looked really, really good. I'm looking forward to checking that out. We're going to go for an interview at South Alabama. Let's see. I thought it was like on the 29th. A week from today? No, it's 2 weeks from today. Yeah, 2 weeks from today. See, that's the game of the Auburn at Kentucky. That's the day of the Auburn at Kentucky game, which I either wanted to go to or wanted to watch. Really wanted to go to it, honestly. You're not going to that. Administrative assistant says I'm not going. Well, sometimes she doesn't know everything. Okay, guys. Anyway. Canoe Man says bourbon and guns do mix. Anyway, B-Max said garlic parm was by far the best flavor. That's not a wet one, right? That's like a dry rub, which I like wet wings. And he says, yes, the bar is nice. 16 TVs in that bad boy. That's awesome. Stoop Up says, my daughter is 18 months old. I'm not looking forward to the dating years. I'm not going to handle it well. Prayers up to JGT. I don't think she's dating any of these dudes, honestly. She was dating a dude last year, and I liked him. He's cool. You know, you kind of, when I was your age, Stoop Up, man, I didn't think I'd be able to handle it either, but you kind of do. It helps if you have an administrative assistant who's, you know, got her good head on her shoulders and keeps you straight instead of letting your anger get the best of you, you know. Be like, what are you trying to do to my daughter? Don't you dare do it. And you just kind of tell him. I think you can set it a really good tone when you meet him and say, listen, I've just got one rule, bro. Whatever you do to her, I do to you. So choose wisely. I feel like that it's a good rule to live by. You know what I mean? I will say this. I'm glad that administrative assistant's dad didn't put that rule on me, because that'd be problematic. Considering we have a kid. Anyway, David Brown says we need Voodoo in Augusta. You know what? I think they are going to be trying to expand over time. They need to get in Birmingham is where they really need to go. And I know of some people that want to be partners with them in Birmingham, but they've been very choosy, which they can afford to be, you know. A Voodoo is in demand. All right. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for drinking that old Ezra 7 with me tonight, whatever you guys were drinking about tonight. I know we saw some Elijah Craig, some Buffalo Trace. Somebody had gotten some Eagle Rare. I don't know if you were drinking it. And, we'll pick it back up. Midweek, the game at Georgia. Hopefully they will win, and we can be on that happy. We can have a happy show again. We don't have to redact the score. We can leave the score up. And all that kind of stuff. Again, Georgia's not a real good team. They've lost 8 of their last 9. So Auburn should win that game, but weird things happen. Weird things happen. Notorious MGM says Voodoo Hampstead. I would do it. We were out at the tipping point just last night, in fact. Ooh, Warren C. in the house with another super chat late. Second one of the day, I think. Says, why do all my super chats end in 99 cents? I'm not trying to sell anything to JG. I will sell Barron's post. Not doing that, Warren. I believe the reason for that is that if you do Super Chats through Apple, somehow or another they adjust the that number. That's what I'm told anyway. But I will say this: so sometimes I do Super Chats on Neil's channel, and it only gives me, I don't remember how I set that up. I think I set that one up through PayPal, and it always gives me 99 values too. So I don't know. Raven says, thanks for a great show, JG. Keep it up. I appreciate you. Warren C says, thanks, JG. Canoe Man says, Voodoo Tokyo. But thank you for the super chat, Warren. And I know that you're kind of a newcomer to the show. I think I got briefed on your situation the other day that you guys were driving home and Gage was behind the wheel and whatnot. The story made a lot more sense once it was explained to me what was going on, and I actually enjoyed it at that point. I thought you were just talking gibberish about Barron and stuff last time. But Barron, this is a good opportunity for Barron, I think. He's going to be living his best life before you know it. Going to find himself like a quality, unattached soccer mom who loves Steel Panther and likes to party. I mean, that's what we're all looking for. All right, guys, anyway, appreciate y'all, particularly our super chatters. But all of you guys, I love you guys. You know that. And let's just make great decisions out there. I will be taping a G-Pitch show with Neil tomorrow for those of you who like that show. And then we'll be doing a rundown probably on Tuesday. Although I'm going to Auburn Monday to interview with the me and B-Matt are going to interview the intern candidate. We'll probably do it on Tuesday again. Anyway, guys, appreciate y'all. Be good out there. Let's make good decisions. No Jägermeister. And we'll see you then. Appreciate you. Peace.